I want to just reset your mind to the methods that we're doing within Food Fitness Focus. And I don't want you to see this as depriving yourself of food at any point, but the methods give you the freedom to eat more of what you actually love throughout the day. And as I always say, and as you know, the only way for you to lose fat and build your muscles and get that toned look that you're after is to eat less than you burn. So by doing what we're doing, being in a calorie deficit, you enable yourself the freedom to eat balanced meals and balanced snacks in the overall calories that we've set yourself for the day. This is one reason why some people do intermittent fasting or they skip breakfast. Essentially, they're just skipping a meal out of their day. So it's not a terrible thing. I used to think that because people say, it kickstarts your metabolism, and if you don't eat breakfast, then you're going to go into starvation mode. Just to remind you that starvation mode is not a thing in that sense. It doesn't exist. The only way that you will suffer from not eating is that you will go smaller and smaller and smaller, and if you keep eating nothing, then you'll die. Sorry, that's just how it is. So eating less will not make you fat. It's just the same as with your bank account. So imagine you have a bank account and you've run out of money. What happens? Well, exactly what does not happen is that you get a phone call from the bank to say, "Hi there, sorry to tell you, you've run out of money and now your bank account is going to grow even bigger and bigger by the day. Thank you, goodbye." Like, that obviously doesn't happen. So it's the same with our bodies on a very basic level. If we run out of food, our body does not then put on weight. And when you say it like this, it's almost a bit ridiculous to think that we ever believed in this whole starvation mode fallacy in the first place. So I hope this makes sense. But essentially, skipping a meal or having a smaller breakfast or a smaller lunch or whatever is not a problem, and it's fine for your weight loss and your fat loss goals. And that's also why this method gives you the freedom to apply it to your lifestyle in the way that you wish. So for some of you, reducing your calories over the day might be absolutely fine, and you're quite happy to have slightly smaller meals in order to hit your goals. But whereas some of you, and I'm definitely in this camp, you like to maybe skip a meal out and then have bigger meals throughout the day, which I can definitely relate to because I like to eat a lot of food. But then even further than that, when we are actually eating, if we can be more mindful of what we're eating, then the brain recognizes that hunger and it tells us that we're hungry earlier so that we can really make sure that we're stopping when we're full and only eating when we're hungry. We all know that when we're mentally invested in anything in life, that we're more committed to it, we're more in tune with it, and we have more control over it. So eating is exactly the same. And I want you to imagine those times where you've come in from a long day, maybe you might order a takeaway or just stick something from the freezer into the microwave and mindlessly sit in front of the TV just eating and eating and eating. You probably don't even really look at the food. You're probably not even looking down on the food. You're literally just shoveling it into your mouth mindlessly and going through the motions. Your brain is then going to struggle to be able to understand when you're full because you're so distracted by the things around you. So whether it is the TV or just the stress of the day or whatever thoughts are running around your mind. And in this kind of a situation, eating after a certain point just becomes a habit. Like I say, very mindless habit rather than out of actual intention and out of hunger. And you also won't feel as full for as long because your brain almost forgets to communicate with your body that you've eaten enough and that you're full and that you're done. This is where sometimes you feel hungry in your mind, but you know that that amount of food you just ate should have really filled you up. I'm sure you've said to yourself or you've said to your friends or your partner, "God, I've just eaten loads, but I'm still hungry." It's probably because it's taken a while for your brain to communicate that to your body, but also because it might just be an emotional trigger to the hunger rather than actually you need more food inside your stomach. And you may have heard me categorize hunger into 3 different sections, so I'm going to go over that now. The first section that we've got is brain hunger. The second section that we've got is dehydration hunger. And the third section that we've got is body hunger. So taking the middle section first, because it's the easiest one to eliminate. As I told you in the hydration video, when you are dehydrated, your body can confuse that with hunger. So what I would like you to do is before you eat every meal or snack, have a glass of water. So it doesn't mean that you should have the glass of water so you don't eat the food, but it will help you to get into that habit and it will make you more hydrated on a consistent basis. Then we have brain hunger. This is the tough one that many of you struggle with. And this is where your brain is dissatisfied with the situation around it, so it turns to food. And this goes back to when we were younger. You've been well behaved, here's a treat. Or you've done well in school, here's some sweets. Or you've been good tonight, here's some dessert. We have intrinsically formulated that association with positive reward and food. So that's not just going to go away at the click of a finger just because we're now an adult. It just intensifies. It's the same with when we go to the cinema. What do we automatically do? go and get some popcorn, or go and get some ice cream, or go and get some sweets, because we're intrinsically in that mode and habit. So this is where you need to try and cut that habit off and be a bit more mindful as to why you're eating and what you're eating. Taking the cinema example. So when you actually walk into the cinema, before you automatically gravitate towards the popcorn or the ice cream, think, what have I got inside me right now? What do I need and what do I want? And maybe that will dictate your decision rather than the habit of automatically going for the popcorn and the ice cream. And I'll let you into a little secret. I used to only go to the cinema so that I could have popcorn and ice cream. I didn't even care about the film. You can watch a film at home. So getting out of those habits is really important, because habitual eating is not mindful eating and will lead to emotional eating. It's the same with when we're sad or when we're pissed off or when we're stressed out. We know that at that time, at that moment, eating food will make us feel better. But it's not permanent. It's a very temporary feeling. So when you actually eat that food at that moment, you focus solely on the food. It's nice, it's tasty, it's giving you happy feelings, and it's making you feel good. But then what happens 2 seconds later? You want more because the food's finished, it's gone. So what I would like you to do as step one is understand, why am I eating? Is it because I'm hungry, or is it because it's a habit, or is it because of the emotion that I'm feeling? And that emotion might not even be negative, it might be positive. You know, like when we have a birthday, for example, or a celebration, everyone then thinks, oh, I should now have cake because it's a birthday. Well, it's obviously fine to have a piece of birthday cake, but how much birthday cake do we need to have? That's where, you know, you're getting in tune with your body and understanding how much cake my body can actually fit in right now. So step one is to just be aware. Don't feel like you have to stop yourself from doing it. Just be aware of why you're choosing to eat that food. Then step number two is, if the reason is not because I'm hungry, then there's another reason. So let's say it's a negative feeling or a negative emotion like sadness or anger or stress. So step two is to actually delve into why you're feeling that stress. So forget the food for a minute, take yourself away from it, and think, I am stressed because a situation is going on at work, or I am stressed because a situation is going on in my relationship. Is eating a piece of cake going to help that situation in work or in the relationship? And the answer is no. I don't really even need to ask you the question and get your answer. I know that eating that piece of cake is not going to solve your problem. So forgetting about the cake for a minute, how are you going to solve that problem? And that's where I want you to keep delving into that. So this is the next step into emotional eating. And it's a really tough one, because really you just want to ignore the problem and get the temporary fix and get the temporary happiness. But that isn't going to solve the overall solution. It's not going to get you to your goals, and it's not going to solve the original problem of stress. So that's where I want to leave it today, because we're going to come back to this topic. So just remember, firstly, starvation mode is not a thing. We know that, we're good with that. So have freedom around your food. In order to have freedom, you need to be mindful to understand why you're eating and what you're eating. So step 1 and 2 to that point is, step 1, ask yourself, why am I going to eat this food? What is the reason that I want to eat this food? Finish it there. Then step 2 is, how am I going to solve this problem, which has nothing to do with the food? Try and do step 1 first for a couple of times, and then, if you can, try and look at step 2. In a few weeks, we'll come back to this and we'll revisit the emotional eating side of things and really delve a bit deeper. But for now, that's where I want you to stay. And feel free, as always, to comment in the Facebook group.